Good? All right. Everyone, please silence your electronic devices, and we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions and deletions to the agenda since Friday mailing.
Yes, we do. So we will be adding 6.29 regarding a hearing officer. We will be deleting 7.6 from the agenda, and we will be correcting 7.8 due to a posting number.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion for the acceptance? Mr. Engel? Mr. Benedetti? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Need a motion for the acceptance of the minutes of the June 15th, 2022 BOE meeting. Mr. McFerrin, a second. Mrs. Hoteling, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Dr. Bailey, long-range facility planning update. Are you presenting that, or is that something we're going to push to next meeting?
I'm okay with talking about it as part of my report if you want to hold off until then.
Okay. So we'll put it under Dr. Bailey's report. We have no hearings and petitions. Need a motion for business considerations.
Make a motion for 6-1 through 629, but holding out 628 for a roll call.
Okay. Do we have a second? Mr. Ross, discussion.
So on 618, it looks like we're reinstituting, Joanne, the fees for lunches. Are we out of COVID money? Is that what that is?
The state is not necessarily out of COVID money. The state is not going to approve the school lunch program as it has for the last year. So we are going to leave lunch prices where they were prior to the pandemic when we left, and we're going to look at that in January and February after 5 months of the school year. Because the state paid their aid at a much higher rate, the cafeteria fund has a little more money than it has had in the past. So because of the hardships to families, we decided it would not be a good time to raise prices. Even though the cost of food and some of the food and the delivery challenges, we're in the black right now. I can give you those figures. We're almost done with the audit. We're working on the audit right now. I'll give you where we are as far as June 30th, but we were comfortable leaving the prices where they were until we look at things in January and February to not create additional hardship on any of our families.
And since we're now having folks pay for lunches, can you continue to have Doug look at whether or not you can prepay the Engel method of trying to prepay the entire year at once?
Yes. Yeah, you can't do that, but I'll tell you why again. We don't.
Right.
Because they want to
allow
get their
it.
fee every time you
They
sign
do
up.
get their fee every time.
Joanne, with this development, do we know what our outreach has been like for people to do free and reduced lunch applications?
We've already started that. They will go as part of the district-wide calendar that they do every year, and Deirdre is working on a communication to families. So, because it'll be just as important for the board members that may or may not know that. Everybody that wants to apply for either a reduced lunch program or a free lunch program, they have to fill out an application. We keep those applications on file. They change based on household income every year, but there is a push to get all of that in because we get aid on those families that are free and or reduced, and so there will be a push. It used to be prior to the pandemic, everybody that knew they wanted to get the free reduced, they sent their applications in. We have to get them in. We have 30 days from the start of the school year. Once after 30 days, if somebody doesn't return an application, then that family they would end their free reduced program and they'd go to full price until such time that they came in and filled it out.
Can we just send a reminder? You have that administrative,
Prerogative.
that.
Yeah,
And
administrative.
we got audited on it, right? And we
Yep,
want
we
to
all-
make sure the documentation's in row?
Yeah, because administrative prerogative was issued a bit too freely.
Yes.
And we have to have the paperwork to support it. If there was a family in one of our schools that one of the social workers or psychologists thought, or principal thought that the family was going through an undue hardship, we could reach out to that family, try to work with them, and then try to apply or fill out a paper for them based on administrative prerogative, granting that family either a free or reduced lunch. But we have to be tight with it, we have to keep our documentation, and we had been cited in a previous audit, I think about 3 years ago, where we didn't do that, and since then we're different.
Does that designation have a timeline, like 30 days or 60 days to kind
For the
of help the
prerogative?
family to actually fill out the application?
Nope, there's no timeline for that, but if they would call out to the family and they would document that they spoke to the family, they drove to the family, there was, kids came in without food, and they would take it from that perspective. We would try to get the information, without a doubt, but there's not a timeline.
Okay. No, go ahead.
If somebody enters that period where they lapse their participation in the program because the 30 days passes from the start of the school year, they can submit an application at any time
Oh,
after
yes.
that period?
Yep.
Okay.
At any point in time throughout the entire school year,
Okay.
if somebody's financial situation changed, they could at any time.
Okay.
But does that waive the fees they've incurred?
No.
In that time period?
Nope.
And will there be a push to let families know that haven't been in the district prior to the change in having lunch being provided free for the last 2 years if you have new kids in the district?
That's a good idea, and I'll
The
work
families
with
might be
Deirdre for
unaware.
that, so they know that. There might be new
Because there's
people
new
here, and we'll do
kiddos.
something. We
Or
can-
families who've gotten used to it and have kids coming in.
Yep, that's a good idea, thank you.
Is there any talk of that federal program coming back?
There's been some discussion, I don't know if Dr. Bailey heard anything in his conference this week. I know they extended some of it for the summer program, but for the school year program, as of today, it has not been extended. There has been talk of it, but
It's
it's
a
a
federal
federal,
government that
correct,
pays
it's a
for it,
federal.
not the state.
And they have said no.
School districts throughout the country,
Oh, go ahead.
Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, Joanne's right, school districts from around the country have been going to Capitol Hill, Washington DC, and promoting the ongoing support of that program. But as of right now, it expires at the end of this summer.
Now, so if a family or families have become accustomed to the free lunch program over the past year or two, however long this has been going on for, and they come into the new school year without realizing that that is no longer being offered and without sending food, we have a plan in place for that scenario?
For doing what? I'm sorry.
They come to school
Right.
without a lunch,
Yeah.
we have meals that we can give them and get the paperwork filled and stuff.
So-
Kids come to school without lunch.
Everybody
they
can
don't-
lunch,
Right.
no matter
The
what.
kids won't go straight.
Yeah.
There'll be food available, there may be payment due for that food because.
Correct, it would be, it
Yeah.
would go against their
Okay.
account,
So
yes.
this could go on for several weeks this year, it's new coming back into
Yeah,
this.
and we'll
Yeah.
target that and try hard to target those
Right.
people and get a mailing out. We would never let a child go
Yeah,
hungry.
Do we have, do we have the principals and building leaders including it in like open houses and orientations?
I think it should be in the letters this summer. I don't think it should be, so open houses happen the third week of September. Not that that's too late, but you wanna actually
Yeah,
get it
yeah.
out there now.
I'm just thinking all the different layers.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah,
a
and they
kindergarten
do,
orientation.
they
'cause
do
the
do it during
SLOSAR.
open houses, but we do other venues. We have different methods to communicate with people through text messaging and email now, so we'll be sending out something for all of those things. There's a lot of things that'll be different. We're going back to school as we knew it, so the transportation request, when somebody wants to switch from one house to another, they'll be able to do that. So there'll be a lot of reminders for people. I would think that the school year, as we start, well, it'll be nice to go back to normal, but there'll be a little bit of catching up for our families to do.
So will
Digital
children
sign?
be able to ride to their friends' houses on the bus like in the past?
They would
With a
be
note?
able to with a note.
Lastly, Joanne, I know there's a couple of other, benefits or, accommodations that kind of go with that program, things like, I think, field trips, and aren't there things that if you have designation of free and reduced lunch, it helps to waive some of the other fees that we have?
Yeah, that would be something that the district would take into consideration if somebody qualified for that, and they would be able to get a discount on their, some of their tests that they have. I don't want to say it was the SATs,
Right.
but maybe that's it. But we
Yeah.
would use that as a designation if somebody had a hardship.
Okay.
All in favor?
No, I have one more question. 6:15, family school coordinator. Did we talk about that?
We did through our budget process.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
That's COVID money, so that expires at the end.
Yep.
End of 2024, correct? That was part of the plan. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. The- No, we have to do a motion first.
Motion for 628.
Yeah, motion for 628. Second, Mr. McFerrin. And
One's a roll call.
Sue will do roll call.
Mr. Beninati? Mr. Deo?
Here.
Mr. Engel?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Hoteling?
Aye.
Mr. McFerrin?
Aye.
Mrs. Molino,
Aye.
Mr. Reveley?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on.
Okay, motion passes. So,
Make a motion for 7-1 through 7, lost the end number. Wrote it down. 22, but no 7-6, because that one we deleted, right?
We deleted that one.
correct. Okay, second, Mr. McFerrin. Any discussion?
Couple items. 7-2, that was for last year, right?
Yes.
Actually, a couple?
Yeah, 7-5, the business teacher, we've had a lot of turnover within that role. My question is how are we gonna support Mr. McCabe, you know, through folks that are already in the building? It sounds like he's coming not from a teaching background, but from a business background, and to help ensure that he has the supports that are needed coming into a classroom. I would hate for us not to know whether or not it's gonna work out as quickly as possible.
So there are two mechanisms in place for new teachers. One of them is a mandatory mentor requirement for New York State in order for them to get certification, professional certification. Laura Reinisch is the new RCSTA vice president, and she is with me and Mr. Jones. We're tri-chairs on our professional practices committee. And as part of that committee, we partner mentors with mentees. RCSTA members sign up for that and receive a stipend for that, and we pair them accordingly. We do, to your point, we want to make sure we're a little bit ahead of the game, and so we are going to, usually it's that first week or two in September where we create those connections. We'd actually like to do that during the summertime, so we have they can actually come to new teacher orientation, build that relationship. So that's the first thing, and we'll look at criteria around things like certification, tenure, whether or not their mentors in the building, so there's convenience around them being able to meet. With a mentorship program, you have to do things like observation hours. There's a lot of requirements that go with that. There's regular meetings they have to attend. So that's number one. Number two is our CCSs are oftentimes really vital to this part of mentorship and making sure they're where they need to be. So I think Maureen Martin, will be actively involved in supporting this teacher as well. And that goes across all content areas. Oftentimes our curriculum content specialists will also support new teachers in addition to their mentor, making sure that they're getting what they need to get. So they'll look at things like courses and syllabi and those types of things to make sure that they have what they need.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
7-17, the volunteer coaches. This has been a, an issue year after year where we find volunteer coaches that haven't been approved and so on. But now I'm concerned that we've just thrown down every name that's anybody's ever been there and are going to approve them all at the beginning. And I'm pretty sure at least one of those people doesn't even live in state anymore. So what I would like is for the new athletic director to kind of delve into this, maybe contact each of these people, make sure they're planning on coaching and that the coach that they're working with is planning on having them coach. And then when we see the list, I'd also like to see what it is they're coaching.
Yeah, and that was my question.
Rather than just a list, because this Teddy Reveley guy, like, who would allow him on there? You know? But no, seriously, there's at least one person that's not living around here and his name's on the list again anyway. So.
Right. If you could just let me know who they are, because I'll work with the new, with Jennifer, because I do that with Bob,
Okay.
and
mean,
I
she
did it for
should-
Bob.
As
but-
the AD, she should be reaching out to all these
And
people
that's fine.
anyway.
Yeah,
Kinda
but I
introduce
just-
yourself and say, what do you bring to the program? Because
Sure.
if you don't bring something, we don't need
Yeah, just let me know who that is, and then I'll touch base with her
Okay.
once I know she's settled, because I got a couple of things.
Do you have to start the process over, like if you weren't approved? So say there's somebody that's on here, like me, I wasn't a volunteer coach this year, but I was 2 years ago.
Right.
Like, would I have to get re-fingerprinted
No.
again or not? Once you're
No.
fingerprinted, you're good to
Yep.
go.
Yeah, you
You're in
do.
the system.
Yeah.
Don't do anything wrong.
So once your fingerprint, but I don't know who's on or off, so somebody's
Right.
gotta tell me that.
But you're, I mean,
I-
obviously,
I
Ray,
think
right,
it's just as important to have what they're volunteering for.
for what
Because I
sports?
think we've run into it in the past where we have found that for the upcoming season, so the next one that we will have is fall, to ensure that we know what sports, we may not know all the teams that we're doing yet, but we know what sports are in the fall. If we're missing volunteers that are normally there for cross-country, that we're identifying that, because we find, and one of our pet peeves is finding out, 3 weeks into a sports season, or 4 weeks, or even later, that we're back approving a volunteer that's been there the whole time.
Right.
It might even make sense to do this like 3 times a year. Do it before the fall season.
Well, I think so.
Before
Yeah.
the winter season,
Yeah.
before the spring
Yeah.
season, because you sign on a volunteer now for spring, and who knows where they're gonna be, if they're
Well,
gonna
and
show
I think,
up.
and I know that some of these are spring ones. They're not.
Right.
They're not fall ones, and they're not winter ones.
That's all for the new AD.
Yeah.
She said
Yeah.
she's gonna be so glad she signed on.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All in favor?
Oh, yeah, no, one what I think was, and I think you hit upon it early, 722. Any progress on the hiring for the middle school assistant principal?
Yeah, we had, can we talk about that now?
Sure, go ahead. I had it written down later on.
Oh.
We can do it now.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
We can
had.
talk about it later. If you guys are gonna cover it during later, that's fine.
No, go.
I'll do it now. Then my other portion will be shorter. We
2
have
minutes.
one interview for middle school assistant principal today. We have a majority of interviews tomorrow, and then we'll do a second round. So we are on track on getting someone in here before our new year begins. Ms. Capice has gotten together a pretty diverse group of folks for the interview committee. We have parents, we have support staff, we have teachers. So it seems like a really great group. Similarly to elementary assistant principal, the shared position that the board approved through budget. We did those interviews on Monday, and we are looking to do our second round. We scheduled that for this coming Monday, and we should have names to the board for our August 3rd
Okay,
board meeting.
sounds good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 8 is informational items only. Special reports, I have nothing to report. Any other Board of Ed members have anything to discuss?
No, I think you guys are gonna.
I'm afraid to say anything nice about anybody.
Yeah, either Joanne or Brian is gonna go over the facility stuff. If you could touch upon some of the things that were in the bond that we, or in the vote that we just approved. I know that we had targeted some items for summer that may or may not be happening, depending upon Board of Ed, or State Ed approval. But it'd be good to hear about that.
Okay.
I want to just mention graduation too, because I thought he did a really nice job with it again this year. I'm always impressed with Ravena's graduation. I go to a lot of graduations, every year 2 or 3, and I think we do the best job. I really do. It was nice at the convention center. I love that we let the graduates decorate their mortar boards. I push for that every year where I work, and they keep saying no, but I think that is one of the coolest things when you're sitting up on stage and you can look at all of them. I don't know, I was impressed again.
Some kids put on, biking boards at some
Right,
point in time.
yeah.
Who would that
Yep.
be?
I don't know.
And I like it a lot better at the convention center than I do at the,
Yes.
what's it called now, the new,
Oh.
MVP
MVP.
yeah.
It's more
I went to
personal.
one this year there. I thought I was impressed. I went to a large one, Shaker,
Yeah.
and I was kind of afraid of how long it would last. In and out, every single kid in like 90 minutes.
It is nice. They do a really nice job with the tech and with the giant screen and all that.
It's not
But
personable.
for something our size, the place would look empty.
Yeah.
So I think it's more formal at the convention center. I think
And there's no bad seats because
Right.
you've got an upper
Right.
level and you can kind of see
Yeah.
everybody at different places. So,
Yeah, I thought they did a nice job.
And there's plenty of room, even though parents get nervous and where am I gonna sit? Can I come early? There's always plenty of room. I think Dr. Bailey's done this now for 10, 12 years, and you get the same questions.
The only thing that bugged me a little bit was the air horn.
There was an air horn?
Air horn.
Yeah,
We were,
one of the
you know,
parents.
we're always after our kids about keeping it formal, keeping it, and then somebody just kept hitting an air horn every time. That drove me a little nuts. But I guess
We'll
we
have
can't
to add
police the
that
crowd
to
too,
the
right?
disclaimer next year, no air horns
No-
allowed.
No air horns.
It's just like section 2. Can't have any noisemakers like that or
Okay, we'll turn it over to you, Dr. Bailey. If you're there.
Hello there again.
timed out.
Thank you for my unique presence here. I am in quarantine, so I am here virtually. I concur. Thank you for your comments about graduation, and thanks to the board. I think that we had a record number of board members in attendance, and being the guiding body for the district, I think it sends a great message for the presence that you had up on the dais. And it was a good day. I think people so happy to be back together and have some normality was also a great addition to the event. So we had a lot of discussion about the Facilities Planning Committee. We have just finished our second meeting, and we're about to roll into our third on July 28th. We had relatively low attendance last time, so we pushed off some of the activities we were going to do at the second meeting, which was the last week in June. We did present on the work that had already been completed. Bill Schramm went through a quick run through of the 2015 project that concluded about 2 years ago now. Maureen Martin and Shelley Bevan presented on the new building sciences program that we're interested in, which is directly linked to some of the future facilities planning that we're going to want to do. We talked about the budgetary impact depending on the amount of money we were interested in borrowing, and an overview of the survey results. We did send a survey out to all families in the district via email 2 times, via text message, via push notification on our app, and posted on our website. And also we did an article in the Ravena News Herald with a link to the survey. Over 3,000 direct contacts from our regular RCS school community, plus the people from the public community, with about 320 responses. The mix of responses was pretty good out of 320. Let's say 60 to 80 staff members, 120 to 150 parents, some leaders, and some community members that contributed to the survey. And we recorded that meeting, and we can certainly will share the contents of that meeting with the public. At our next meeting, we will try and combine what we've learned, both from the survey and from the building condition survey, which is, as I mentioned before, conducted every 5 years by architects, and they make decisions about the rudimentary structural things that need to be improved. For instance, if a building's boiler has gotten to the end of its useful life, that's something that will go on in a building condition survey. If they've noticed that exterior of a building is starting to deteriorate, that would go on a building condition survey. And what we're going to do as a committee is we're going to start to combine what people are dreaming about as far as program and future facilities, and the work that we know has to be done, because if you can't keep the lights on, all the best dreams won't really do much good. We also know that the committee will be talking about a solicitation to purchase property from the school district, and talking about how we want to share that proposal or possibility with our community. It's something that can only be voted on by the community, so we'll be having an open forum around that, and allow everyone to give voice and their input around such a proposal. It can only be voted on in referendum, and if that were to happen, we were talking about November or December of 2022, quite a ways into the future. Also, the other thing that we're going to do is break them into small groups at our next meeting, elementary, middle, and high school, so that we can get people who are specifically focused on areas, grade level areas of our district, to have some meaningful conversations about what they would like to see happen. The end result of all of this will be prioritizing the things we'd like to have included in the project, working with our architect, and having them develop a proposal that we expect to go to state ed in September, late September. Any questions about that?
No?
As Fred mentioned, we're rolling into the second round interviews for our elementary and middle school assistant principal. The elementary principal interviews will be early Monday morning, about 7:30 to 9:45, 10 o'clock. And then same thing on Tuesday for the middle school. I'll be sending some invitations to board members if anyone is able or willing to participate for those in-person interviews. I would invite you to do so. And lastly, the free and reduced lunch discussion, good discussion. And I don't know who had mentioned, whether it was Mike or someone else, about the fact that families have grown accustomed to just receiving lunch without having to fill out any of the required forms. It is a big deal for our families to complete these forms. It not only has an impact on their children being able to eat free and reduced, it also has an impact on our district as a whole, on state aid, how we are classified as a district. So we met about 4 weeks ago to have a discussion about how we up our game and changing our approach to advertising, promoting, and encouraging people to do it. I agree with Bill. Open house the 3rd or 4th week in September or October is way too late. So we're going to be trying some new things beyond the scope of the center insert in the school calendar, which is primarily where it ends up, and maybe an email to families. We know that we're going to have to do a full court press, especially as you think about it. In the last 10 years, our free and reduced rate has gone up about 10% for our district. We were hovering around 40%. That's pre-pandemic. So it's very difficult to determine where we actually may be now, almost 2 years later, where we're going to have some changing information. So I'll keep you updated on some of those processes we plan on using.
Okay. Thank you.
One question on that.
Yep.
Can those forms be submitted electronically?
Mm-hmm.
The free and reduced lunch?
I think there's an attestation, right?
Yeah, well, there's an attestation part of it, there's also, we have to look at them, so I don't know. I'll have to look into that.
That may be a way to
Something that gets people to
increase
send them in,
participation.
maybe, yeah.
A photo emailed or even
Yeah, they could.
different ways to receive it electronically.
They could definitely scan it and send it.
Right, yeah.
But if there's not a digital.
Because I check those, so then they all come in the binder. So I don't think they're online because I get the
No,
actual
but
application.
I think what Mike's saying, that people could send them to us, email a completed form to us, that they would still go through Doug
Then
and
he
then to
put-
you
and then
as
he
the
prints.
approver.
The
Okay.
easier we can make it to submit them, the
Yep.
greater the
Absolutely.
participation.
I've also learned though, hearing things like this, a lot of the people that would benefit from these services may not be doing email as much as we think. And it's when they're here in the building, during any other time you can get parents in the building that's front and center, hey, this is the time to sign up, take this form, fill it out right here, right now. That's,
Is it that easy to fill out? Like they don't need any
I don't
additional
know, I have
information
no
or
idea
proof?
how hard it is to fill out. A lot of
Is the
times we don't
form
get the
something they could fill out quickly like that if they were in the
Oh,
school
yeah.
building, or
If
does it
they
need
have it,
additional
yes.
documentation?
And we can make sure that we're available during open houses. We did that in the past, and because it's been a couple years since we've had people, required them to fill them out, it wouldn't hurt us to be there and available for families when they come into open houses.
Are there any community service providers in the area that might help get the word out? Social
That's a
services
good idea
providers?
as well.
There's the place down in Faith Plaza that has the, I think it's helpings?
Kindness for Kids, not the lunch
No.
program.
No, there's one where they can come in and purchase at a reduced rate different food items. I must come,
Helping Breakfast.
thank you, that's
So
it.
yeah, we can get those forms out. That's a good idea as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there still, I know the program for the entire districts is gone or going, but is there still the return to the old way that if the district was above a certain percentage, they would be eligible?
Yes, so it's not even necessarily, well, how does the Community Schools Act, or Community
It's a
Schools
school.
work?
The
It's a school, I think
the
if Peter B.
school
Oh, individual bill?
Yes.
It's individual buildings, if a certain percentage hits
They've
that number,
exceeded.
then the entire school gets,
Okay.
Do you know what the
Free.
percentage is?
No, I
No.
don't believe it's one school, then the entire, we can find that out.
Yeah.
We're always just under that, we don't qualify for it, but
But again, it was all pre-COVID that we were basing that on, and a lot
Right,
of people's
it
lives
changed.
changed.
It was usually around 50%.
Dr. Bailey, is it district-wide or is it building specific,
District-wide, once the district is at 50%.
yeah. And we're just
Because I
always
think
under
some
it.
of the ones.
You know,
balance it out.
ideally, the legislative push at the state and federal level will be successful, and they'll continue the program so that we won't even have to have this conversation. But beyond the scope of free and reduced lunch, I am sincere when I say, knowing what our free and reduced, our low socio families are, is very important for us as a community. So regardless, we're gonna still try that push to try and, public service announcements. Doug Porter has traditionally come to open houses. He sets up a little stand or works in the kitchen. He hands out snacks or something and tries to get people to fill out forms. We really do need to think differently, and I'm with Ed and Mike and the other folks who had said, not everybody's on email. We need to bring it to where they are, figure out how to have them get it to us in some different ways. Use the resources in our community. I fully agree. We've got a few food pantries that are still standing. Use our community organizations and our churches and see if we can get some better results on completing the form. It's never been great here, in all honesty. I don't think, even though we've had 40% fill out the form, we are all cognizant that there are still children who are hungry when they come to school. So we can do better.
Those kids that are in summer school, are still in summer school right now,
Yeah.
can we start trying to make sure that
Yep.
material is available?
Now, keep in mind also for our school, all schools, there's a direct certification program so that any family that is currently enrolled in food stamps, any type of assistance, they're gonna come through on a direct certification. So I would imagine, and they don't need to do anything. If we get that we upload it right into our system, and then that will take care of it. That family won't have to fill out that report. And that might even be greater now, given some of the hardships that community members have had. So we'll have to see between the direct cert what the gap is between. And we always have the files, we have to keep files for a certain number of years, but we have who's applied for them in the past, so we can target it that way as well. But the direct cert will play a large role in that process.
Can you partner with the Peter B. PTO and Ada Becker PTA for if they have welcome back events? I know that Ada Becker in the past had an ice cream social, and they could pass it out, or someone could be available. I don't know if you're allowed to cross
You
over
might be
in
able
that
to
way.
also leverage the the Ravena-Rec program, because I
Yeah.
know a ton of
That's a good
kids
one.
go there.
Or
Just
the lunch program.
try
I would say
to,
the traveling lunch program.
You could
Yeah.
target that too.
Yeah.
The kindness for kids.
Leave flyers at the pool.
Or at the pool, yeah.
Library.
I also would, I know I've said this before, that you said that there's some, groups getting together to go to the Capitol, and I would be more than willing. I think this is a very important thing. I don't know how the rest of the board feels. If we can send a letter, if we can craft something, if that's something we want to discuss, but I think bringing it back and having it paid was one of the greatest things. I saw it being a teacher and being a parent.
Especially for a district that seems to be just under the threshold.
Mhm.
It means it's a huge need, but we can't actually get the safety net in place that threshold meets.
Fred gave up his time, he said.
Turn it over to Mr.
Part of
Engel.
my
Heard say he's giving up his time.
I do want to say, without jinxing, not jinxing us, is that because we had some COVID positions and also some long-term subs, we were able to move those folks into probationary positions this year. So positive energy, some of where I feel is a little bit ahead of where we sometimes are with the frantic of hiring. You never know, though, some domino effects could occur, but so we're hopefully lucky in that regard.
I know that last year we had extra people in the buildings because of terrible substitute numbers.
Yes.
Are we planning that?
Yes,
again?
we're still going to keep those COVID positions.
Okay.
There was a COVID position that was that position who ended up becoming a classroom teacher,
So we're gonna hire that.
but we are going to hire that position. That is our plan.
So do we have vacancies now of COVID-funded positions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Summer programming did start this week, so both at our secondary level, our high school level, summer intensive, mostly through Apex Credit Recovery. We had 50 students sign up. Overall, approximately 65 courses will be taken for credit recovery. For our Discovery Camp, which is a newer program this year, it's an extended day. It is still for intervention and remediation, but we really try to include a lot more engaging type of activities. We'll have about 150 students signed up for that. And we think because we've made it so engaging that we're hoping to even increase that for next year. That's all through American Rescue Plan funding. And so we'll have some further conversations around that. But we asked it to be project-based learning, not only to have our math and reading and literacy skills embedded in that. So you'll see some, I'm hoping I can share out on some really cool projects that they're working on within those grades. I will, as soon as, I know we have new members, but I'm jonesing to get our CNI committee back together, just because we had some CTE, some career technical education conversations, some courses at the middle school. We didn't come to resolution necessarily on those, so I'd like for the CNI to come back together and just discuss that, because they want to make sure they can schedule all of that. And if you look over at Ms. Capiche, she's smiling from ear to ear because she's really excited about some of the work that's going to be going on with that. Yeah. And then I did want to mention, in addition to graduation, we had other moving up ceremonies, and all of them were in different venues. So A.W. Becker, Peter B. came here to this campus and had at the auditorium. I felt like that was a successful event. Middle school had a packed house, which they're already working on ways to tweak it for next year, but they're really excited about the amount of people who turned out for that as well. So thank you for all of those people who helped plan that. And then lastly, I know I brought it up several times, the individual arts and assessment pathway that the music department's been working on. We had to get approval from New York State, and we did get approval for that pilot, so we're really excited about that. And at some point, Ms. McLaughlin would like to come and just give a brief presentation on what that's about.
Okay.
Just jump in there.
Sure.
I just want to piggyback on what you said, and I think as a board, we focus a lot on the high school graduation, which is always so rewarding because it's the end of a particular journey. But I did get to participate in one of the elementary school graduations, and it was such a blast to see the kids come across and, you know, master the eye contact and the shake and the pose for a picture, and it was really a great opportunity. And I think if we have a chance to kind of divvy up our skills and go to a couple different ones each year, it would really, I think they benefit seeing that there's an importance of it. I did want to ask you about whether or not we have the backpack program situated or started to kind of get into place.
For the upcoming school year. So this was our first year. I talked to Ms. Labarge, who is our high school coordinator for the backpack program. And actually, just a reminder, the middle school and high school, we say backpack, but actually it's a pantry style program. So kids actually are able to choose the foods that they like. And because they have the responsibility of cooking more of those meals at home, they can actually get more of those Dinty Moore type of, meals. So Ms. Labarge, because of the donations throughout this year, said we're actually have a little bit of a pool of funds for that. We'll still do our fundraising around that, but we are in a better place than we have been in the past. What we have done in the past as well is when community partners come to us in August asking can they donate supplies, we've been asking them, because we've been able to supply those things, we've been asking them to consider donating to the backpack program, which many of them do. Kindness for Kids also partners with us. When they send their thank you notes to their partners at the end of the year, they add a little like, and if you would like to continue, please feel free to donate to the backpack program. So we're in a much better place around that. Thank you. But if anyone would like to donate, we'll definitely take that. Because to be frank, a couple of our schools would like to maybe increase that a little bit more. The other thing we've talked about, and I'll make it short, is a kind of a read and feed type of program. So in addition to the backpacks, adding books and literacy to that. So I have been in contact with grassroots givers around potentially doing something like that.
Tracy would be smiling.
She would be.
Yes, she would.
Feed and read.
Mrs. Moran.
I know that Mr. McFerrin asked about the voters approved on this past May, and that was a $2 million project, 2.3 actually. It'll be, some of it is the infrastructure on the electricity, that fenced-in area that you see next to the Route 9W. And there's a whole bunch of other pieces of it. So how that will work is that John Cherokee from Rhinebeck Architecture is working on getting all of the plans ready to submit to State Ed. We really can't begin the work until State Ed approves the jobs, whether it's the demolition of the concession stand, enhancements to the press box, or anything else until they give us the final approval. They give us the go and we can go. If we can get some of it done, and John knows this, if we get approval soon enough, that we will start whatever we can that's not an interruption to the instructional or athletic or extracurricular program. That being said, a little while ago, our board approved an emergency project to replace the pool filter. We currently are in the works with that. You will see an amendment to that resolution come up on the August 3rd meeting, because the prices came back in a little higher. So I'm going to have it, and the state will still aid it if it's over the $700,000 that we asked the board to the initial resolution. But we're going to have an amount not to exceed, and we'll probably make it about either $775,000 or $800,000 not to exceed. That way you don't have to amend it again, and we can get the work done. Now for the bad news. Some of the equipment we need, the filter itself, may not be in until the first week in October. So we are working with Mr. Kearney now. Mr. Schramm has already reached out to see if there's anything we can do to work to have an alternative swim location or whatever we need to do. I don't have all the information on that yet. I know it's a delivery issue with the filter itself and to get the work done. So we are working on it. We're aware of it. But we are going to probably, it'll interfere with our fall.
An
Girls
athletic
swim
program?
team?
Correct.
Girls swim team would be in the fall.
It'll impact the fall swim program.
So Coach Kearney will work with the new athletic director in concert with Bill Schramm for an alternate site?
They're gonna try, yes.
Okay.
And there's no guarantee. We just identified the timeline and we are just now working on it.
Is there any way that this pool filter will limp through to next summer?
Or just till the end of the boys' season? Which
Well-
would be what, January, February?
No, that's when-
It'll get done this year. It's gonna impact our program. Now,
Well,
if
right.
we wait, and then we're not gonna get the aid on that $700,000, so.
No, then
you
if
know,
it
it's-
breaks down, then we have to do it anyways.
Right, we have to get it done. And
What's-
part of the other pool program, that 2.3 million will also, I don't wanna say fix, but replace the desert air system that's in that pool facility right now.
What's the deadline that would allow us to be captured in the most immediate cycle? Like what
For
was?
the aid?
What's that?
What do you-
Yeah, for the aid.
Well, you would just, this aid's gonna be, we have to fill out a final cost report every year. So we always wanna get that done if it's a smaller project in June 30th. But we would still get the aid, but I would wanna get it done now, just put it off. It doesn't, it's a non-event, I wouldn't push it off till next year, I would rather have the work done.
But I'm saying if we pushed it off until the seasons were done, still within this school year, without minute, because we're gonna have to rent a place, we're gonna have a cost to
Yep.
move these, bus them back and forth and
Well,
everything else. Would it make sense to offset that? Right, not impact those sports and then do it immediately after?
Well, I will let you know. I don't have an
I
answer to
thought we were
that.
at the point that it was not able to be used anymore because it wasn't meeting the
Right,
health
that
and
would be
safety
different
standards.
stories.
No, it's still being used.
But I thought that it wasn't, I thought that's why we were in such a hurry to do it, because it wasn't gonna meet the code or whatever.
Let me update that on August 3rd. I don't have the answers, okay?
Jordan, I have another comment. So let's say that filter is sitting on a ship somewhere. We miss our date to get our money back because let's say it doesn't show up until July. Is that still on us? Like we
Yeah,
could
but
never,
we would still get it, but, yeah.
but we wouldn't get the state aid back on it.
Well, they're gonna probably aid that size project over multiple years
Okay.
anyway, so we're gonna be okay with the aid. It's just that if we're gonna do it this year, I'd like the work to be done by June 30th.
Right.
And I'm already thinking about 22, 23, so. But let me update that and when I have more information between John and Bill Schramm on the 3rd.
Just for reference in that conversation, when would the boys' season end? Is it February?
March?
I don't know.
I don't know, so I don't know.
I mean, it's usually the same as what, like the winter season starts in the beginning of December,
Right. I
and
think
the
it's
beginning of
March.
February or middle of February,
Right, for some reason, but I'll follow up.
sometime around.
Next time we meet on August 3rd, you're also gonna see a travel club on your agenda. That's because they're going to Europe and they want a fundraiser. Again, when they do a travel club, it's at no stipend for that year. It's part of the extracurricular. They want a mechanism to fundraise, and you have to do it through a club.
They doing it through our books? I think, is all the money coming to RCS for the
It goes to the extracurricular club,
Yeah,
extracurricular
well,
fund.
have
We
to be
know
great-
how well
we have-
those
We
are.
have to be great with the extracurricular club.
Well, wait till the,
Since
wait till
it's an
this year.
audit item every
You
year.
know if you come to the audit and finance committee, just let you know. Push it.
Yeah, it'll probably be there too, you never know. The other thing I wanted, it'll be the advisors. I'm also working with Kim Smithgall right now about gathering information on an electric bus program. We have some mandates that we have to hit by 2027. Am I correct on that, Dr. Bailey?
Yes,
So
and shaking his
far-
head yes.
He shook his head, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, the cost for the electric buses, there is some grants available, so I'm working with Kim right now to see if it's worthwhile for RCS to pursue those grants, but you have to remember as well, it's an infrastructure issue for us as well. We have to have the infrastructure to support the electric buses, so good news, there, the grant can do both. But again, we have to also, part of that deal is you have to retire a diesel bus to take an electric bus. Because our area is so big, sometimes we need the diesel buses to get the kids the long distances they have to go and back, because propane buses don't go quite as far. And right now, no one can tell us how far the electrical buses will go. So we're working on it. We're not opposed to it. I'm gonna gather the information. If we can get a grant that gets us 1 or 2 electric buses and some of the infrastructure to get started, it would be well worth it for us to start that process. Do I think the state's a little crazy and is expecting everybody to have everything done by 2027? I do. They're gonna have to.
You saw that in the news article today, right?
No, I did not.
Bethlehem has it in the news today, that they have the first one in the region.
Yeah, they do, and they also, I think they had a grant to get a few more. It's gonna be interesting to see how that goes. And the
They
other
have
thing I
the-
wanted to draw attention to everybody, say you approved that resolution for the borrowing. A little bit different, and I wanted to explain that. In the past, we have done bands, which are called bond anticipation notes. They're short-term borrowings. We've done that for our capital project. We're just wrapping up phase 3 now from the 2015 project. So we're gonna transfer that money, that borrowing, to its final borrowing, which is called a bond. The board doesn't need to act on that because you did that in 2015. What we acted on tonight is the bus borrowing. So we'll still do that. You saw it's a smaller amount. It's $521,000, what the voters approved this past May. That allows us to borrow that a short term over 5 years. And if you do another capital project, you'll see that as a band, and we'll merge it. We used to merge those, we did an $18 to $17 million band. But again, we're finalizing the borrowing for the capital project. We're gonna still have the short-term borrowing for the buses. We pay that back over 5 years. It becomes part of a larger borrowing. It's a lot to get your head around for the new board members, but we'll go through it during the budget season and at any other point in time. But again, I just wanted to draw attention to that. So now we had the borrowing, that wording just for that bus ban, and that closes in August, so.
Does
And that's it.
that save us some headaches with potential rate increases that are coming?
Well, it does. I mean, the fact now that the interest rates seem to be going up, but again, it's renewable each year. So if interest rates go crazy high, we can always do a bond for 5 years for a bus and lock into an interest rate. But right now, we spoke with our debt service and the finance committee. We were part of that. They're very comfortable still doing the ban, and that's where we are right now. And we used to combine it, so we only had to pay the fees for the issuance one time. And that's why we did that. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
So, one quick second. When you were talking about the getting rid of the old concession stand and doing the press box, it just jolted my mind about something. The scoreboard out there
Yeah.
looks like it's anchored to a truck.
Yep.
What's going on?
Thank you for bringing that up, and I should have brought that up. Mr. Schramm identified probably about 2 weeks ago that something happened to that, whether it was wind, we think it was probably storm damage, that the post that sign sits on, oddly enough, it's not one solid steel post. It's got, you know what, can't think of what the word is, where they want coupling, and it broke. So he noticed that it was waved back. So what we did is we got the architect involved, and we're gonna fix it the right way. We're gonna put it through our insurance. Insurance is gonna pay for some of that. We have to get it fixed the right way. And right now, the scoreboard's fine. I'll have to ask Bill Schramm for the update on that. It could, we're trying to get it done so it's ready for the first football game, ready for the season, but that, we don't think there's gonna be a problem with that. But again, it was funny, we didn't notice it. And then Bill was driving by and saw that it was leaning
Because
back.
it's like
but
a
it
wind
fixed.
tunnel out there.
Yeah, it must have been, we think it was wind, we don't know, because it wasn't like there was damage and then someone
There's a
knew it.
lot of wind out there.
So is that
There is
just
a
an
lot.
extra
It's
truck that we don't
big
need?
time.
That's the Frankenstein truck it goes.
Yeah, that's the only, they use it in the
I didn't
winter.
go close to look at it, but.
In the winter, they built that.
Building and grounds, you know.
Yep.
Now you're pushing.
But,
I share.
I'm not pushing anything, I'm not pushing everything.
So,
we did identify that as a problem and we're working on fixing that now.
Okay,
That's it.
new business, anybody have any items they want to add to this?
I just wanted to kind of bring up for anyone who might listen or know people that are listening. Recently, we were walking on the track, and there was a bunch of kids playing in the middle, which was great. It was, you know, younger ones, middle-aged ones. But we have mobile soccer goals that are put up in the middle of the field for different sporting groups to play with. They're able to be moved around. And what we were noticing is some of the students were climbing up on the top of them, but they weren't just climbing up the bars, they were climbing in the netting. And so we're just concerned that that's gonna wreck those goals real fast. So people that are enjoying the facilities, try to be responsible when using them.
Well, I've noticed a lot of different groups on that turf field.
Yeah.
Are they all putting the proper paperwork and getting approved? I mean, this isn't just open season for anybody who wants to come play on the fields, right?
Well, if we have a building use
We
form,
do.
then we have one. If somebody has failed to do it, then no, I don't know who's there at night.
yeah, but if you're
And
a
this isn't an organized group,
If
this
you're
is
a
just
student-
kids walking.
Yeah,
Right.
like their parents show up to walk the track and their 5 kids run
Right.
around.
Yeah,
and
and I
find
don't
dads
care
and
about,
jump.
you know, obviously if the parents are walking the track, big deal, but it seems to me that there are a lot of other teams and things
Yeah,
just
what-
showing up out there, and do we have a schedule? Do we have some kind of, something that protects us
It's all on-
liability wise, if they just decide to show up and have their own practice on our field?
Some of the things are on the schedule that Bob uses, which used to use, I think, was the Colonial Council
We have a
calendar.
schedule for the building use. and-
Yeah, like
and-
our
Our
baseball
O&M knows
games and
that.
I
soccer
understand that,
clubs
but what
and-
I'm saying is there are a lot of, sometimes I look out there, I drive by and there are 3 or 4 different teams on the same field, and there's no way that we would have scheduled it that way.
Right.
And if they haven't gone through the proper paperwork, then we don't have the protection if they get hurt,
I think the
or they do
question
something
is-
stupid.
The question is that, you know, from our facilities director and the facilities department, are we looking at that when people are using the facilities? Are we?
Well, nobody's
checking?
here at night, so that's gonna have to be
Well, I'm
something
just-
that we
it could be
use
during
with
the day, but
Right.
if it's at night and it's after people are leaving, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if it's during the day, are we walking out?
It's one of
Yeah,
the, yeah,
they
it's
would
one
know
of the
that,
things.
yes, they would know what they had to do to have the bathrooms open, so yes.
Didn't we, the bathrooms
They-
probably
they're
remember,
memo.
didn't we just switch to a new calendar system as well?
Yes,
A facilities calendar
master
system?
library, whatever it is, I don't know the name.
I don't know what it is either, I know, and then Bob was using Colonial Councils and, but I'm sure the new athletic director's gonna need to.
Right,
be
because
up to
I'll
speed.
tell you, Sue and I wanna make sure, we always make sure when the building use form comes up to our office, that we have the correct insurance forms filled out for our protection, and then I wanna chase down people and get the money that we're owed for the use of that field, because it's not free. So we will work with the new AD to make sure we're on top of that.
Okay,
And even when large organizations like the entire Little League or the entire youth soccer, they may have permissions and insurance on record, but individual teams and coaches just grab space wherever they can.
Yeah, and
So a lot of
that shouldn't
times.
be, right, but
But if the RCS soccer league fills out one form, does it have to be for each specific coach and group of kids? Because they run U8 to U14.
they
No, it's all
usually
in the
do.
league.
They usually get assigned a field to practice on, from what I understand, but I can't answer that, and I wouldn't venture a guess, I would wait till we have the new AD and he's.
that would go
I'm
through
just
the
saying for
club.
his question, if he
It's
says
only gonna
multiple
go-
teams, it could all be RCS like travel leagues.
No, I mean like multiple sports. Like
Okay,
I've
okay.
seen, you know,
Like
a
there's
soccer
some
team out there with
baseball, right,
guys throwing the
okay.
football and a baseball team hitting the other corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
usually in the past, like, school's not assigning who gets the fields or anything else, or like one club's handing in the insurance and everything, but then they're going to leave it up to, you know, like the basketball club, here's your 4 gyms, this is the time you have, this is what you have to do. I don't know how soccer does it anymore of, hey, these are the fields you get, these are the times you get, you guys figure out what it is, or how Little League does it, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna also prohibit, student athletes from going down and doing things. I know my daughter goes down and
Yeah.
shoots on the soccer goal constantly, and is doing things on her own down there. She's, you know, I don't want us, because it's supposed to be a community use field.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes.
Not without going through the proper paperwork and everything
So-
else. It's not
so-
supposed to be just
Individual,
open
For-
field for anybody, because we don't have that for any of the fields. We have signs on them that say not for,
No, we have signs in the back. We don't have signs in the baseball fields. We don't have
We
signs.
have signs at the baseball
Yes, we
field
do.
at
Yep.
Peter B, I think, there's a
When
sign.
did they, but that's
Oh,
not.
no, it's a red if it's.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
use.
it's
Sorry.
not that you
can't
In
use it,
like,
there's no
you're
signs
right.
that say it.
You're
I mean,
right.
I don't wanna prevent anybody from using it. I just wanna make sure that we're protected, that people aren't going down there, number one, and doing damage, whether it's accidental or intentional. Number two, that liability-wise, we know who's
Yeah.
there and when they're there and
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
I agree.
But we're not gonna, like, in different cases, when people are walking individually around the track, you're not going to get paperwork for that. Or if one person's down shooting a soccer ball into the soccer net, we're not gonna get paperwork for that. If her one father and daughter
no.
or son are sitting
I-
in the baseball field, we're not gonna get
Right.
paperwork to do that.
I get that, but that's not what I'm talking about.
No.
Right, no, I
I've seen
know.
multiple times where there are 3, 4 different sports being played on the turf field at the same time. And that should not happen. It's dangerous.
And it does deter people from using it in our community if they feel like they can't do it freely without multiple organized groups interfering with that. Like, I know if I go up there and there's a practice going on, I might just turn around and leave because I don't want to walk the track while they're doing that. So if we have an organized calendar that for those structured activities, we have calendar spots for them, it's gonna make the general use for adults and other people in the community easier. They're gonna have a better experience.
You're saying it would be something that you could access and see that at this time the soccer league is using it, so you might not go?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we have calendars for the building that says
Right.
when there's things going on. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the capabilities of our calendar, but
Let's turn that over to the new AD. Welcome aboard.
Load her up.
I mean, they have it, it works. I mean, they use it for the gyms, it's just using it for the fields is what they would have to do. So, but, you know, like you said, leave it to her, hopefully she can figure something.
especially with summer camps coming up that are formalized and other groups, you don't want stray groups coming in when it's got something that's slated to be there.
Well, that's why I know it's on there, because like during basketball season, like if A.W. Becker has Christmas, whatever, miracle set up in the gym for 2 weeks, you know you can't use the gym for basketball. You know, so there's different things that can do the same thing for the fields, I'm sure. Christmas miracle.
But we also,
It's
we
winter
also don't
wonderland, a little more
let,
PC.
we also don't let the public just come down and walk in and use the gyms without filling
Right.
forms either,
True.
so.
I don't want
True.
to.
So, okay. Nothing on old business, BOE committee reports. Sue, all the committees are listed online under Board of Education, right? So we have 4 committees, or you guys all, the new
No,
members?
we need to
Oh.
move 3 new spots.
Right, you guys all have your school emails now?
Yes.
I do,
Right,
yes.
so if we click, yeah.
I do, yep.
Yes.
So when we send board members, all the new members will get it, right, if we just
Yep.
click that?
Mhm.
Okay. So usually what I've done in the past, or what we've done, is we assign 2 people to every committee. We have 4 committees, so we assign 2 people to every committee. So I'll send an email out, send me back kind of your preference on committees and what you want, and we'll assign 2 people to each one of them. It does not mean you can't go to the other committee meetings. The only thing we have to prevent is making sure there aren't 5 of us, which usually is not a situation. But like, I mean, if you're on one committee, you can go to the other one, everybody can. Because I've gone to some of the other committee meetings as well, or gotten involved in CNI. So you can.
Public's welcome too, right?
Good, public's welcome as well. They're open door, you know, committee meetings, so, we've had people in the public in the past on a couple of the meetings. So I'll send you guys an email and then send them back, and we'll divvy them up and put 2 people on each one, and then, we can go from there. Policy adoption and review, we have none. Hearings and petitions, we have none. Upcoming activities, we have our next BOE meeting is August 3rd. Same place, we have no reason for executive session. We need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Mr. McFerrin, a second. Mrs. Hoteling, all in favor?
I think I give them the motion to
gotta go.
adjourn.
You're expending a lot.